So Cheryl, I'm going to hand it back to you for the introduction to the next section of talking.
Okay, well, we have Erika Boyle is moderating the next group, and she will come in and introduce her speakers. And this is one of our sessions, one of our two sessions during this conference about caregivers and care partners. Thank you, Erika.
Thank you, Cheryl. So thank you, Cheryl, and to all of the NAA team and to the panel that we just heard from Connections. That was great. A little bit about me. My name is Erika Boyle, and I live in Sarasota, Florida. My husband, Tom, had a stroke 25 years ago. So we have been living with aphasia together for 25 years. So I'm very happy that I was asked to be here today to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is aphasia and caregiving. I'm very passionate about this. I'm a huge advocate for people with aphasia. So I am a co-founder of a support group, which is a very important thing. And I'm also a co-founder here on the Aphasia Community Center in Sarasota, Florida. So let me introduce our amazing panel that we have here today. So we have Larry Melamed. Larry's wife, Wendy, had a massive stroke the day after her back surgery in 2015. So that's 10 years ago. She has aphasia and right side weakness. Larry lives in Texas and he's an avid wildlife photographer. And then we have Will Peterson. Will's wife, Karen, had a massive stroke in 2016. At that time, he was stationed at MacDill Air Force Base here in Tampa area. And Karen has mobility issues, paralysis, and other challenges. And we have Jamie Lamb. Jamie's husband, Bora, has aphasia. They met in 2013 while they were living in Dubai. After Bora's stroke in 2016, they moved back to the US to be closer to family. And she's another person who is passionate and an advocate for supporting people with aphasia. So can I ask our team to take off their mute? All right, great, excellent. So we have some really good topics to talk about today. Caregiving, there's so much involved with it. It's a lifelong process. It's 24/7. But I guess one of the things that we could start talking about is what happens after speech therapy is over. What do you do from an aphasia recovery standpoint and from a standpoint of just getting back into life and getting back into a normal routine after speech therapy ends? So, Will, how about we start with you?
Yeah, I think, Erika, I think you said it right out the get-go, is getting into a routine. You know, even though we're talking about when speech therapy ends, a lot of us have dealt with the greater issues, whether they're physical, whether there's also some mental issues that, you've basically been just trying to throw them into as much as possible. And the schedules are pretty, and if you're working too, then you're juggling things multiple times. So really, the best piece that I have for once things start kind of slowing down is establish that routine, so that you can then give yourself an opportunity to take care of yourself. And we say it all the time, but there are simple things. Just even stealing an hour of reading or being able to do the laundry or anything that is task oriented, that you don't have to rush. And that's the one piece that I have found, was getting us into a set routine, and we keep a routine. Aside from doctor's appointments, you really don't have a choice when it comes to when a doctor's appointment comes up, but you can choose not to do things, right? And I think you also need to think about, how do you make now the act of helping somebody an equal evolution, where where it's not all about them. It's also, you've got to be selfish and say, hey, we're not going to do this because I need a break.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I joke with my husband all the time, but I'm kind of serious. I say, hey, it's not all about you.
I don't like to hear
But
that.
I like what you said about getting into a routine. I think that's important too. Larry, what are your thoughts on this?
I had to step away a minute. What's the
Oh,
topic?
sure. Sure. So we're talking about after speech therapy ends, getting back into a normal routine, or what is a normal routine?
Well, my wife's still doing speech therapy. She's been doing it for 10 years, and it's still helping improve. Um, our routine's kind of a lot different than most people. My wife won't go to bed till like 3 o'clock in the morning, so uh, she's got a routine. She goes in the bedroom 2:30 and plays fetch with one of the dogs till 3. But it just seems like her internal clock changed after the stroke.
Okay. All right. And Jamie, what about you?
We have small children, so routine is not always possible. So I know some other people that have family or small kids makes it a little bit more difficult. I think sticking with a routine is helpful for sure. I think what helped us the most, and with Bora, my husband, was once speech therapy stopped, was to try and engage in life as much as possible, even during those early stages that were really difficult. Not staying at home and isolating, trying to get out as much as possible, even if it was just observing, was really, really helpful. Some sort of engagement in kind of normal life. I know normal is very different after aphasia, but that was really helpful for Bora, and it was helpful for me too, right? No one wants to stay home all day. Especially if you're a caregiver. So sometimes even just going out together or joining family or friends was really helpful, especially when speech therapy was finished. So routines are good, but kind of rolling with the punches and getting out and engagement was really helpful for us.
So you said something about isolation. That's a great topic to pivot to. Aphasia is so isolating. It's very different than any other disorder or any other illness or any other disease because people don't understand it. They think maybe that the person with aphasia is stupid. They think that they need to talk louder because they can't hear. They just don't understand what it is. And it's isolating for the person with aphasia because they're afraid to go into public. I know that when Tom, the day he came out of rehab, and he was in a wheelchair and he couldn't speak a word, and I was determined back then, like, okay, no, we're going to go out to eat and we're going to get a cheeseburger because that was important to me. My first time pushing someone in a wheelchair, so that was exciting. But it was good to get back into a normal routine. So we try to end the isolation. I know that in the last panel, they talked about socialization and community centers and all that. It's very important for people with aphasia to be around people and to be around other people with aphasia, to be around your family, to be around your friends. So, any thoughts on that?
I can start, Erica,
Sure.
because you said it, and I guess I wasn't watching the previous thing because I was helping get with Karen on things, but the socialization was very critical. I mean, even early on, I was blessed by having a church family that I could call on to come over and do puzzles with her and help do things where that gave me a chance to be a break. And this is the same thing is, but then getting them out. And we are also lucky because we live in Tampa and we're near Voices of Hope for Aphasia. So that's pretty much my game plan is getting her as much socialization as possible because I'm an introvert and I'm not a big talker. So there is absolutely no way, even though I'm going to talk like crazy here, um, there's absolutely no way that I can give her the interaction that she needs. One for just her own mindset, but two to help her speak, right, and engage in conversations.
Excellent. Larry, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I know this is common, but it seems like a lot of her friends disappeared. But the Zoom things that Graphica does has really helped Wendy make new friends. And so she's got a whole new circle of friends through that. And they kind of help keep her going. I mean, she's actually on a Zoom thing right now in the other room. But it kind of seems like our old friends disappeared, but we made a lot of new friends through ARC and other aphasia groups.
That's exactly what happened to us. All of our friends disappeared. They thought it was contagious. They couldn't deal with it. He was very young. Tom was very young, so our friends were young, and they didn't know how to act. But we have a whole new set of friends now, and that's perfectly fine. Jamie, any thoughts from you?
I think that's a really good point, Erica, that you bring up. Like, and Larry mentioned it too. People don't know what to do, when it happens, and they don't know how to support the person with aphasia, and they don't know how to support the care partner. Cheryl, I just noticed, made a good point in the chat. She said, "When have a list ready. So when people are coming over to say hi, or what can I do to help? Here it is. Here's the list of things that you can help," because so many people may want to help, but they just don't know. And us too, Erica, we were very young when it happened. So people didn't have the understanding. They hadn't been around it. They didn't know what it felt like to be with somebody that was struggling speaking, or somebody that was caregiving, or a care partner full time. So that was a good suggestion, Cheryl. Thanks for saying that. I would just say for us, it was just, I would go back to it was engagement. The moment we've started realizing we just have to get out, even if it's going to get a burger, going on a walk, we can run into people in passing, right? Taking the dog out. We have a small dog. So taking her to the dog park, or just going for a walk, and finding ways to interact with people was really helpful, not only from a speaking perspective, but like for both of our mental health. It's isolation is devastating to everybody that is isolated. We are human beings hardwired for connection. And so for each side, right, the person with aphasia and the care partner, like there's got to be some engagement outside of just the two of you. Whatever that looks like and whatever the capabilities are, I would highly, highly encourage that. That really changed our life when we were able to start getting out and engaging again, even if it was just small things.
Excellent, excellent. And I like this, maybe we can pivot to this topic too. When early on, people would say to me, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. And I'm like, no, no, no. And then one day I'm like, here's my list. This is what I need. I think people should try to not feel like, okay, well, they don't understand. And, I just want to do it all myself, because you're going to get burnt out. And as a caregiver, the number one rule as a caregiver is you have to take care of yourself. Because if you go down, guess what? Your spouse or your partner or your person with aphasia in your life is going down too. So you have to be strong, you have to be healthy, you have to get sleep. So I reached out to people I didn't even know, in my church and just around our community. Because Tom needed some support with some speech homework that I couldn't do. I was working full time, and at night when I came home, he was just too tired to do that. So we got a lot of help, and I really credit that as one of the ways that he made such a great recovery. But what are some other things that we can do as caregivers? Maybe what about if you live, like, say, here in Florida, we have a lot of small communities, and maybe you could get together and say, hey, on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, someone can, take my spouse to breakfast, and Thursdays at 3, you can sit with him for an hour while I go do my errands or whatever. Any thoughts on that, Will and Larry?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I'll let Larry go.
In our situation, it seems like her friends are afraid to be alone with Wendy. They're afraid she might fall, which she hasn't fallen in 3 years, or something would happen. So it's really hard to get friends to want to, like, just stay with her. Now I can take her to meet a friend for lunch, they won't pick her up, but I can take her into the restaurant and leave her there and go do some stuff and then go pick her up. It just seems like her friends are just afraid something's gonna happen.
Yeah, that does happen. Will?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was going to say is, all of the people that actually helped us out were not my friends, right? So that's the hard thing is your couple, your care partner friend group might belong to the person actually that has aphasia, and so you kind of have to get out of your comfort zone. And I by chance, luckily, I knew her passcode to her phone. um, I was able to post on her Facebook account what was going on. So that's where I think a lot of friends that you might have that are more willing, might not be yours, and so you kind of have to, just take the bull by the horns and just sometimes just give up your own sense of ego or whatever, and just ask. Right, that was the hardest thing, is to basically ask for help from people that you may know but aren't friends with.
That is hard to ask for help, especially, you're afraid of being rejected. You're afraid of that person thinking you're asking too much. So yeah, that is a good point. Jamie, any thoughts from you on this?
Yeah, I would say that was my biggest mistake. It's been almost 9 years now. In the first couple years, I thought I could do it all myself. It's fine. I don't want to burden anyone. We'll be fine. I can figure it out. But I nearly lost it just because I was a shell of the human I was before, because I couldn't ask for help. I didn't understand or know how to do that. So it took some time, but trust that there are people out there that want to help, whether they're people you know personally, like Will just said, whether they're friends or family members, maybe they're just members in the community. I think the more you put out that I need help, or we would appreciate help, or we could use the help, the more that people either will step up, or maybe they can find other people that, let's say someone's retired and would love to go for a walk, and they could wheel your partner around for a small walk, or go take them to get coffee, or like, I think just putting it out there to say we could use the help and would appreciate it. It takes a lot, and it's hard sometimes to ask for help, but gosh, it really changes everything when you don't feel so alone trying to manage it all.
Yeah, that's a great point. So 25 years ago, social media and other platforms like that, they weren't like they are now. So, I mean, I literally remember sitting down, typing a letter to my church, typing a letter to two other organizations here, and just begging for, someone to come in. We happened to get three retired teachers. In fact, I got such a response, I had to turn people away. And these women came into our lives, and they stayed for years, and they just blossomed. They just loved doing it, and Tom really thrived with it. Um, Even finding someone to sit, even for an hour, getting that hour of respite for you just to go out and take a walk and clear your head, that's really, really important. Caregiving is a tough job. It's 24/7, and everyone's situation is different. Some caregivers have to do more than others. And some people can't even leave their family member with aphasia alone. Um, Early on, Tom couldn't be alone, and that was difficult because I was working. So what other things as caregivers, what can we do to help ourselves? Taking care of ourselves is so important. And I preach it. I don't always do it, but I preach it. But so Jamie, what are you doing for yourself to take care of yourself?
It took me a while to kind of carve out that time, but it was so necessary. For me, I love yoga. I love breath work and walking. So I'll listen to a good podcast and go for a walk. I was the same. I didn't want to leave Bora alone at all. So when I had to work, I was rushing home, and so I didn't have any moment in time. But I started carving out those, even if it was 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Going to a yoga class was a treat if I could. If not, I just do it at home. But for me, that was what mattered. And I recognized for Bora too, what I think for both of us, to be honest, what kind of saved us individually was movement. It was huge for him when he was able to kind of get back into exercising. That was massive for his mental well-being, and the same for me. So whether we would go for a walk together if we could, or we'd go for, a separate either workout or walk or just some sort of movement, really changed the trajectory of ourselves individually, but together as a couple. So I would say probably the first and most important thing that's been helpful for us was movement. And just getting your blood moving again. It clears your mind, it calms your nervous system, all of those things that whatever movement you can get as a caregiver will be helpful for you and for your partner.
Okay, that's great. Larry?
Uh, I- what I do is I like to get away from people totally. So I go out and take pictures of birds and other wildlife, deer, whatever. We live next to a huge lake, so there's a lot of parks and nature areas I can go to where I don't see people, I just see animals. It's very relaxing and calming for me and makes it easier when I get back home and have to do the caregiving stuff. I'm kind of in a calm mood by then. That's
Do you,
kind of how I release my stress.
is Wendy with someone while you're out, or is she able to be home alone?
She's able to be home alone for a few
Okay.
hours.
Okay, all right. And Will?
Yeah, I was lucky. I was able to. Karen was able to ambulate early on, and so we could trust, that she could be home for short periods of time. So kind of stupidly, my joy was actually going to the grocery store by myself and not having to push her around, and think things to myself. But I'm a simpleton, and I'm retired as well, luckily, and so you know my joys are just taking her over the Voices of Hope and just sitting around listening to music or in my own thoughts
Okay.
throughout the day. Um, that's pretty much what gives me that calm. The only other thing I did want to kind of bring up was what's very hard in those, once you start socializing and you are amongst other people with aphasia, is trying not to compare your
Mm,
your partner to anybody else, because it's like fingerprints times two, because you're not the same person as that care partner and they're not the same person as that aphasia person.
that is so correct. That's exactly what I say too. It is like fingerprints aphasia. No two are alike. It depends on where the damage is in the brain, you know, how much they recover, there's so much that goes into that. So that is important not to compare. And it's also important, we have a lot of friends with aphasia. Some don't have any physical limitations, and you might look at them and go, huh, at least they don't have to deal with the right side hand paresis. They don't have to deal with the loss of the use of the hand, but maybe they have deeper cognitive issues, and you can't always see that. So speaking of the physical, so let's talk a little bit about some people who have aphasia do have physical disabilities too that came with the stroke. Right side weakness, maybe they're in a wheelchair, no use of the hand, no use of the arm, maybe they wear a brace on their foot. So although it's not aphasia related, it is, part of it is part of what you go through as a caregiver, because that is part of the whole package. And then it makes it more difficult for the person with aphasia to deal with that added burden of having to go through life single-handed, having to adapt for everything. So, Will, since you're still up here on the screen, let's start with you.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on that?
yeah. So Karen also has what they call harmonious hemiopsia, which is where you only see out of one half of each eye. So that has probably the greatest effect on her aphasia. But she also has trigeminal neuralgia on the right side, which is the nerve firings of in your face. And so I know that that also affects her apraxia. Um, and then again, apraxia is another term that typically goes along with aphasia as well. So she has that as well. So those are unseen issues that I can't even deal with. I mean, we took her to see a neurologic
Neuro-
ophthalmologist, right? And they said that, oh yeah, we could probably create some glasses and create some things, but we never finalized it because her ability to say one is better than two is just it's not there, right? So we could end up with this contraption that she couldn't even use. So that's the other part of it. But then the other side is when it comes to her paralysis, where she able to walk around with a cane, but she needs the wheelchair more often. She doesn't have any use of her right arm. Um, those just become balance issues, right? Where you're trying to figure out, well, what should I work on? You know,
Exactly.
and we made the conscious decision because we were close to the Voices of Hope that maybe speech might be our best bet for now, and then maybe at a certain point in time we can get back um, to the other things. It's not a zero sum game. You can do both, um, but we're lucky that we can do 4 days a week of speech versus somebody else that might not have that same ability. Um,
I remember when Tom first had a stroke, and I didn't know anything about this, but he was in PT and OT and speech every day, and he was so tired, and I'm like, which one do you put all your efforts to? Because spreading it out among three is difficult. Um, and now, he is ambulatory, but he does have, after wearing a brace for 25 years, he's got a problem with his several problems with his foot. And that's something we have to deal with and balance issues. And now that he's getting older and I'm getting older, we want to make sure that balance and getting the gait straight is important. So he does a round of PT every year, and he does, a lot of things to try to, I'm always, watch out for that, don't trip. And so that's just all part of it. Larry, what about you?
Um, Pretty much echo of what Will said. Kind of what our situation is. Um, I don't really have anything to add other than what Will said. I mean,
Okay.
I mean,
All right, Jimmy. Oh,
as far as mobility and getting around, we ended up buying a foldable scooter for Wendy because I just got tired of pushing her around in a wheelchair. She can walk short distances with a walker, but long distances I was pushing her in a wheelchair. So we bought one that folds up and folds in our trunk. We take it with us when we travel. She can ride it through security and up to the door of the plane. I fold it up, they take it down with the strollers and everything, and then when we land, they bring it back. She walks through the door, gets on it, and we roll off. That's really helped us a lot. We can go a lot more places.
great. And Jamie, does Bora have any physical issues that you're dealing with?
He doesn't actually, a little bit. I mean, doesn't have sensation on his right side, but he has strength. So he's one of those that you look at him and you wouldn't know he had a stroke until he starts trying to speak or read something. So that's not a huge challenge that we've had. And I think when you say you kind of pick and choose your battles, we realized pretty quickly on that him moving, and because he was able to utilize both sides equally, so there's a little bit of weakness and stuff, but he's able to figure that out, that brought him a lot of joy. So that was something that was the choice he took, that said instead of focusing on speech therapy or something else, he needed to focus on PT or on movement and strengthening his body that way. So again, every person's experience with aphasia is different.
Absolutely. So let's talk about something. This is, I think, something that could help a lot of other caregivers, care partners, co-survivors out there. Um, how do we keep all of the doctor's appointments and medications and refills and notes you take during a doctor's, how do we keep that straight? Because that is important, but that's extra responsibility for us. Um, so I'll just share something that I do. Maybe that's helpful for other people. Tom got to a point where every Sunday morning we'd be sitting at the kitchen table and we have the 7-day pill boxes and we'd be doing that for the week and I would do it and he would put them in each box. And I thought, you know what? This is like, I need help with this because this bothers me to do it. So I took 2 months every Sunday, 2 months, and I trained him. I did a spreadsheet on all the meds, the name of it, the dosage, the frequency, the color, the shape, what it's for in 2 months. And he did it and he was able to do the pills. And that's something that we worked on. That was something that was important to him. And then I would go in and check. And then now he's gotten to a point where he's, he's good on his own. But maybe even if your loved one with aphasia can't do that, maybe you could make a spreadsheet or make a list so that they know what they're taking. And then maybe you can sit at the table with them and you put the pills out and maybe they can put it in the pill box so they feel like they're being involved. So that's just one tip I had. Anyone else have a tip or a trick that would help other people?
Well, yeah, I do 2 weeks of pill boxes at a time, but you mentioned doctor appointments. We record our doctor visits for Wendy because it takes her longer to comprehend what's being said. And this way, when we get home, we can replay it and rewind it and repeat things so she understands exactly what was said. And then as far as scheduling, I keep everything, we both use Microsoft Outlook, and so everything's on a calendar. So we can both see where both of our appointments are and everything. So she knows, she can see when she has something and what the day and time and all of that.
That's a great idea. We have, of course, a calendar up in the kitchen, but we also have a little whiteboard. One of my friends here at the center suggested it, and I think it's a great idea. Um, it's something maybe like it's on a Saturday and we're going out to do a bunch of errands. I'll make a list of all the places that we need to go so he knows, okay, Saturday we're doing this. Or, don't forget this or something like that. So that's a way it empowers them to be involved in not so much maybe making a schedule, but knowing the things that are going on that have to be done. Will, any other thoughts on that?
No, actually, the shared calendar is, to me has been critical because, one of the things about when you kind of let them socialize is everybody wants to know what you did. And if you don't have that, if they don't have that where they can find and recall it, like on a calendar, there was even an app at one point that I could just put a story kind of like a picture in the name and the date, and she would be able to look and go, oh yeah, I saw this movie, this is the picture of the movie, this is the name of the movie that I went to. So that was one thing that, it took me a while. I mean, even though we both had iPhones, is figuring out that giving her something that she can use and recall off of. I've also tried like a medicine app, where you can put all the different medicines and the times and all that. But when you really come down to it, the names of medicines are just too dang difficult. I mean, I can't even say them correctly, and I don't know what the difference between the brand name versus the generic, which one do you put, right? kind of thing, because it depends on your pharmacy and your
Exactly.
health insurance, which one they authorize, right? So even that has
Good point.
been difficult. But the one thing I do when it comes to doctor's appointment, I try to have a conversation before we go into the doctor about, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what the expectation is, that kind of those things. And then after, and sometimes even in the doctor's office, I just let it go, right? If it's one of the hardest things, like with her cardiologist, is he'll ask her questions about, does she have palpitations? She'll say yes to things that I have no earthly clue is true, and sometimes I let it go, and just to see what the end result is, right? So sometimes you kind of have to let the conversation go organic, and let them, and only stop it if you know for some reason that this is going down the wrong path, um side of the fence. But that's kind of how we deal with doctor's appointments.
So that's a good segue here. So when we go to the doctor, I make a list. I have a list for everything, but I make a list of what we're going to talk about. And if it's a new doctor, I tell, I'll say, hey, Tom, is it okay if I talk for a minute? He'll say yes. And I'll say, okay, Dr. So-and-so, Tom has aphasia. You need to speak slowly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they go and they talk, I'm like so fast. And I'm like, Doc, he's got aphasia. You have got to slow down. And then maybe the doctor will start asking questions and it's rapid fire and they're yes, no questions. And, sometimes maybe Tom may answer just because maybe it's too fast or and I'm like, well, wait, are you sure it's no? Shouldn't that be a yes? So I think educating doctors, which is a crazy thing to even think of, right? That's important. We've been to neurologists that we had to do the same thing. But you have rights as a patient. And I like Larry's idea of recording the appointment. What I do is I take notes on top of my list, and I actually come home and I type them on a Word doc, and I've got a running list of just kind of notes from every doctor's appointment, and that helps to organize when we go to a follow-up appointment, or what did this guy say? So that's another thing. Jamie, any thoughts on this?
I would say the same. I think just staying organized as best you can, and everybody, that looks different for everybody, but that was my thing at the beginning. It was so overwhelming. So many different doctors, so many appointments, so many things to remember. So I kind of did the same as you. I just started a Google Doc and just kept everything living there, had files for all of his scans and everything that we had coming from the doctor's office. So however you feel organized, it keeps my brain organized as well, which is less stress. So whatever works for you and your family and your partner, do it. We had the same situation with the pill box. We actually, our middle child was like 10 at the time. And so Bora they would put the pills together. It was something that they did together. It was like a fun little activity. He thought it was a game and, putting the pieces in, and Bora was capable and able to kind of show him where it all went. So utilizing those kind of things too is, they're not fun and they can sometimes take quite a while, but finding some joy in it too. It worked well for us. We also do a digital calendar, and we do a whiteboard calendar. So he has very clear knowledge of everything that we have going on for the week or the month. And we can write reminders on there too of when do we need to check in or when do we need to get a refill on things and stuff like that. So however you stay organized, it just helps with the stress level too.
That's a great point because, some people aren't tech savvy. Maybe they don't want to use Google Doc. Maybe they don't want to use a spreadsheet. Maybe it's just the little notebook that you keep in your purse or, keep on you just to write everything down.
Yep.
Erica? Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Will.
I just have one aside, is even if your partner doesn't have a medical issue or is going to the doctor's appointment, like with Karen, I did not know what doctor she was seeing and when and for what reasons. I mean, I knew she had a cardiologist. I didn't know what her blood pressure issues were. I knew she was seeing a chiropractor because she was having lower back issue. I knew she was seeing a a back doctor as well. And so when she had her stroke, now I'm in panic mode trying to figure out what was going on around her, and then trying, number one, just to cancel appointments, because I don't want to get socked with a $50 don't show up charge. But I'll turn that over to Larry now.
I was gonna say, I've been watching the chat while we're doing this, and somebody had asked if we could please talk about caregiver guilt. I don't know if we want to touch on that a little.
Sure. That's a great, actually, we have about 7 minutes left before we open up for Q&A. Caregiver guilt. I have it. I don't think you can't not have it. Sometimes, I mean, we're 25 years post, and I am a caregiver, and I am heavily involved in the world of aphasia, but sometimes I might forget that, like, why can't you answer, just give me the answer. Just give, is it one or is it two? Just give me the answer. And then I'm thinking, oh, he's got aphasia, like, so then I feel guilty. And then I think, but I'm human, so it's okay. So I have these kind of battles back and forth in my mind, like it's okay, no, it's not, So I'll open up with that. Larry, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, sometimes I get impatient waiting for Wendy to be able to get out what she wants to say, and I'll just start guessing, and then she gets mad because I don't give her time to talk, and
Mhm,
that causes guilt. The other
mhm.
thing was she was very, very independent before the stroke, and now she can't drive, so she can't go anywhere unless I take her, and I can't always take her somewhere when she wants to go. So I have that guilt. But you just can't do everything when they want something.
You were given a job that you didn't apply for, right? And you
Yeah,
didn't have any training in. So it's, for the first few years, it was we were just kind of winging it. But I do try to sit down with my husband and say, look, I can't do everything. Or like sometimes when I'm impatient, and I am not a patient person. So sometimes I'll be impatient, and I'll like I can't wait for him just to get that one word out, and then I feel bad. But then there
yeah.
are other times that I do wait, and you know, I do the right thing. But maybe that's not the way to say it. I, I'm I'm patient at times, and then sometimes I'm not, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think what you said earlier is we're all just human, right? We're all just trying to figure this out. Everybody that's involved with anybody with aphasia, the person with aphasia and the care partner or the family, like we're all just trying to figure out. So I think what helped us was I had a lot of guilt at the beginning, like so much. But it's just to give each other grace, in the moments where we get overwhelmed, and I got overwhelmed and frustrated, then he'd get overwhelmed. I'm like, well, I didn't do anything. I'm just trying to help. It just was a battle of back and forth that we're all just trying to figure this out and what this new normal looks like. And we're almost 9 years in, and we still have moments like that every once in a while. Not that often, but because we're human. Like it's a normal thing in any sort of relationship, but just giving each other grace and as much love and patience as we can, and remembering that he is struggling in his own mind that I may not be able to see, and that I'm struggling in my own way that he may not be able to see either. So, grace and patience and love. And we're
So is
human. So forgiveness for yourself and for each other.
That's a good point. Is Bora impatient with himself?
Oh yeah.
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 So
It's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better. But oh gosh, at the beginning. And then he just kind of blow up, and I'm like, it's
mhm.
okay. But then it feels like you're blowing up at me when he's like, it's not about you. It's about me. I'm mad at myself, and I'm angry that I can't say what I want to say. So that was a learning curve for us of like recognizing when someone
Yes.
loses their patience, it's not always about the other
Yeah, same
person.
with Wendy. She loses patience because she can't talk and gets really upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what I just saw. Somebody said it's not, if it's not a matter of life and death, let's try it again later tomorrow. Karen had a term for when we were raising our daughter was, hey, if there's no blood, it's okay, right? And that's kind of the way that you kind of have to look at it is, well, as long as there's no blood, you're okay. The earlier part about it being, do not compare, try not to compare your issues with somebody else's, because you'll run yourself the guilt trip constantly in that one. Be selfish is another one. I mean, it's not a good term, but you've got to recognize that, hey, sometimes you can't do everything, so let's take a step back and do something for yourself. And also forgiveness. Jamie said it perfectly. You've got to learn to forgive yourself. You can't keep holding on to all that, because it's in the past, and you need to just keep trying to look forward.
That is difficult, though, to forgive yourself. And also I think things are situational. Maybe I've had a super long, extra bad day in work, and he just, says that one thing and I'm like, maybe it's just not the right time, and conversely, maybe he's having a bad, we call it a bad aphasia day, right? Everyone has those. Everyone knows what those are. So I think it's situation, maybe it's environmental, maybe I'm not feeling good that day. Maybe he's not feeling good that day. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. So with that, we are just about at our time. And I know that we want to open it up for questions and answers. Larry and Jamie and Will, this has been great. You guys did a great job.
Yeah, don't go
Um,
anywhere. We need your input on these questions too. I agree. And I am jumping back in to thank you all too, and also to thank Erika for amazing moderation and facilitation of this very important discussion. There are a couple questions, but I also wanted to point the audience of this webinar out to some of the information that's in the chat and that is available on our website. One of the things we worked really hard with on the new website is to provide answers to those questions, because we got them all the time. When I first started, we kept getting questions like, how do I attend a doctor's appointment with my wife? Or, my husband had to be rushed to the ER and I didn't have anything with him that he had aphasia. So really take some time to play around on the new website. There's a section called Living with Aphasia, and it says Living Day by Day. And it's got sections on going to the hospital, getting transportation. There's a lot. Thank you. Kim just put up the link for those. And they are included in there, some of the resources and apps that are available. There's some wonderful things from ARC in there, and from a medical app that you can download to your phone or to your iPad. I also wanted to mention, because I am not just a NAA director, I'm also a daughter of someone who had aphasia for 10 years, and I learned what it was like on the other side. And to all of your point, getting organized was huge. So we've talked about this in Aphasia Cafe, but I came up with a book for my mom. Can't see it with my blur very well, but that had her picture and then sections of information that went everywhere with her. This was really important. And sometimes the ER doctors, my mother had seizures, so she was often at the ER, and they would say, where did you think of this book? And I'm like, my persons with aphasia and their families gave me the ideas. Never go anywhere without a dry erase board or an app on your phone that has a dry erase board or a pad of paper. But also, you guys were talking about, I made a section for my mom on her medications. I won't share all her medications, but a picture of the body, and that was in that section as well. So remember that getting prepared is huge, and making, as you know, stroke came out of nowhere, and a visit to the ER could come out of nowhere as well. And so the other thing is, we have some ideas for parenting, grandparenting on our website. We even have a little video that teaches kids about aphasia. So if you are in a situation with your spouse that you have children or grandchildren, please look at those resources. Cheryl, can you come on too? And I'm just going to share some of the questions that have been asked.
Okay.
One that was asked that I think is super important that I think all of you can comment on is how do you keep your love strong
Yeah.
while you're also caregiving?
I can take that one. I think Kristen asked another question too here in the chat about how, you know, people with with aphasia feeling like a burden. I think they kind of go hand in hand. What worked for us, and it took us a while to get to that point, but I had to ask for what I needed in return. So obviously I was taking care of everything for a very long time. And there came a point that I was like, we're starting to disconnect from each other. So I had to start and learn saying, okay, this is what I need from you. I need you to help me with this, something that I knew he was very capable of doing. I need you to show up for me like this because it'll make me feel loved and supported and held as well. So I would say that was really helpful for me, is finding my voice in the relationship and just saying, I love you and I love who you are and who you were then and who you are now. And we still have this bond and love for each other, but we have to show up for each other in different ways. And what I needed then was one thing, and what I need now is something different. So, and he was wonderful and showed up as much as he could, you know, when he can. So that's probably what I would say is, again, like I said this earlier, like giving each other grace and forgiving each other in those tough moments, but also showing up for each other and voicing what that is that you actually need on both sides was really helpful for us.
We use a lot of humor. We always have. Humor gets you through some rough times. I mean, Tom's got a whole dictionary of his own aphasia words. We all know that. But also, when he accomplishes things, I mean, his recovery has been amazing. But it makes me so proud, and I'm so incredibly super proud of him. And I think we were put together for this reason, to help start a support group, help start the center, and to bring people together. I think that was our purpose in life. And we needed to get together, and he just needed to have a stroke to to get it done. So
I don't know if
that's
you know, but Tom and Erika got married after his stroke. So she married, they got married afterwards. I just thought I'd throw that in there because that's important.
I'll send the check to you after, Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you. Mhm.
I think my only comment would be acknowledge the small things. Right. I mean, they struggle on so many different levels, and so do you. And so just simple acknowledging those small wins, or maybe even failures, you know, might be that one key.
Thank you. Please, if you have a question for this panel, put it in the question answers. There's a reminder of the actually second edition was just released of Identity Theft, which is Deborah Meyerson's book, Rediscovering Ourselves After Stroke. It is fantastic. The first one was fantastic. The second one is even better. So you can head over to Amazon, and it will be also updated on our website. It's so that we have the latest edition on under our resources section under books.
And the video on PBS was wonderful as well.
Yes, and thank you for reminding me. So Identity Theft just did a PBS. I can't actually leave my site, so people are giving me these links, but we'll put that link in the chat as well to the PBS special on that. And I know when we talk on PPA tomorrow, I'm sure there'll be discussions about Bruce Willis's wife's book that was also on caregiving and being a care partner. And she talks a lot about self-care. So I love that you guys covered that.
Can I make a comment on the book you just mentioned, Identity Theft?
Of course. Liz.
It took Wendy had been trying to understand her stroke for years until that book came out. After she read that book, it all came together and she understood what happened to her. And, you know, it just totally opened her eyes to what happened, and she could understand what happened to her. So it's a really good book.
Sorry, thank you for sharing that. I was typing. Um, And Kim is putting the link to identity theft there. Somebody was just asking also about the links that we're sharing and some of the resources that we're sharing. A couple of things have come up when Erika and Jamie and y'all were talking about of gathering people and telling them what you need. I developed a program called Communication Support Teams, and that falls right into it. So we'll make sure we include that article so you can learn how to do that if you're out there. What other questions do you have, or Cheryl, you might have some ready for Erika and her team?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
Let me think on it, but I don't think I do.
Well, I
Uh,
think I I'm gonna add that, you have all spouses here, Erika.
Yes.
So we know that aphasia does not just happen to married people, as stressful as that could be. Could you
Meeting
tell us a
tomorrow.
little bit of, and I loved that Cheryl mentioned this morning about roles and how groups can give people their role back because they're able to just be whoever that is. Like I was always the therapist until I realized, no, I'm the daughter. And my mom still needs to give me advice and share ideas and tell me if my outfit looks good or not. And
and why
um,
don't you comb your hair?
exactly. Well, um, so yeah, I mean, could you talk a little bit, and maybe other people can too, how it's impacted your family's lives, and if there has been changes in the roles of siblings and children and parents, and how you might approach that as a care partner?
I'll let Jamie, Will, and Larry take this, but I do want to say that tune in tomorrow, same time, where our panel will be people whose adult children or parents have aphasia. So it's a little bit kind of a different twist. So Larry, Will, and Jamie, any thoughts on that other topic?
And so, I mean, just to add, my daughter was 15 when Karen had her stroke, and and that's a tough age for any teenager anyway. And so, and she had the hardest time trying to um, distance herself from the issue. Everybody wanted to know how she was doing. She just wanted to be a kid, and in high school and things like that. So you guys kind of have to let them go. I did force her into therapy just to kind of check the block, and it didn't work. But that is something that everybody should be comfortable that, hey, you do need to seek professional help with your young ones, because it is tough, and that connection has never come back that they had. Our daughter um, is doesn't live with us anymore because she's on her own adult life. She does communicate when she does, but that connection just has not regained, and I'm myself trying to figure out how do I right the ship on that one.
Oh, we have adult children, and after the stroke, their bonds with their mother got much closer. Our son lives in Minnesota, and he calls ever since the stroke, and she came home, he calls every single day on FaceTime. And now he calls with the grandchildren. Um, I mean, every day. We used to maybe talk to him once a week before the stroke, but now he calls every day, and our daughter lives close, so yeah, they've grown closer as well. I think realizing they almost lost their mother made them realize how important she is to them.
Jamie, I know you've got kids.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I wish we would have done differently is just talk to them more about it. I think we thought we were protecting them, and thinking we'll let them not stress about it. But I think now looking back, I wish we would have just been as more transparent with it as possible. They were, oh gosh, 4 and 9 at the time. So they didn't really know what was going on. We have a small 2-year-old now, but now as I look back, I wish we just would have probably helped a little bit more to be a little bit more transparent. Everybody's situation is different. So take that, as you wish. But that's probably my biggest regret, is that we would have talked to them more about it.
I
So they would have
can't-
understood more what was happening.
I can't remember the name of the book. We got it for our young grandchildren, but somebody wrote a book targeting young kids about stroke and aphasia, but I can't remember the name
Well,
of it.
if you look on our website under
probably see it.
resources, so one of the things that we
I probably
changed
have it
on our
too.
website was everything before was a whole list, and now you can search by book, podcast, app, YouTube channel. So if you hit that and you find books and you don't see it, Larry, let me know and we'll make sure we reach out to the person. There has been a couple new ones that have just come out. There's also a puppet show on there. Starring me, myself, and I as the princess, but we're not going to go there. So we are wrapping up this at 3:15 here. On behalf of the National Aphasia Association, I really thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty and your sharing of what can be very personal information. And we're just super grateful. You have helped people you don't even know yet. Wait till all this is sent back out. Erika, thank you for facilitating this amazing group, and thank you to all. Again,
Thank you to everyone who participated. It was a tough one in some spots.